is 4 of 4 on this drive. Harris has the majority of the yards for the team so far. Pickens, catch, run, slips out of there. Touchdown, Pittsburgh! The elusive George Pickens.
You know, he just got to grow up, man. It's an emotional game, man. These divisional games are big. He got a target on his back because he's George. He understands that. But he's got to grow up. He's got to grow up in a hurry.
Mike Tomlin says George Pickens needs to grow up. I think we'd all agree with that. How do you help him grow up? How do you make him grow up? 412-928-9370. We've got opinions. I'm sure you do too, and we'd love to hear them. Fan Morning Show is brought to you by Guardian Protection, your hometown home and business security company. Dorin, you got to find him, right?
Well, I think he's going to get fined regardless. So I don't think like in-house. I think regardless he's going to get fined with the unsportsmanlike conduct by the league. So
yes.
His pockets are going to get hit. I see what you're saying. You got to find him and hit his pockets, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to work. But what I would do and what I would think would work, I would lean on Russell Wilson. Russ, like this is, I know we've tasked you to do a lot this season, but you've been around a long time. You've dealt with multiple mentalities and personalities for wide receivers. Russell, we need you to get a hold of George Pickens and let him, and just put your arm around him every single day, as he probably already does, you know, with the game plan, with plays and you know, approaching the actual game and doing things. But as a veteran player, Russ, I need you to make sure this doesn't happen again with George. Please talk to him and talk some sense into him and make him understand that we need him in crucial moments, and he can't do this to put us in bad positions. I'd ask Russ to handle it, honestly.
Steelers would have had the ball at the 11-yard line, then there's the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. It pushes them back, and then the field goal gets blocked. If they stall out there at the 11 and kick a field goal, it's a chip shot at that point, and it's probably not getting blocked. It's a lot harder to block one of them chip shots, Dorin. That's my football acumen right there.
Yeah.
But you also have a chance to score a touchdown there. But instead, you wind up getting no points. He cost you the yards. He cost you 30 yards overall. And he punts a ball into the stands, which you just knew he was going to have one of those days.
Well, it comes down to this, and you said it a little bit before, and we talked about it before the show. All season long, you know, George has been getting into some type of situation. You know, you think about the Commanders game where he chokeslammed the guy. So officials are going to get together, their crew, everybody on the crew is going to get together before the game. It's like, okay, who do we need to keep an eye out on? Number 14, George Pickens. Then you go into this game. They already have an eye out on him because of what happened last game with Newsome at the end of the game and them almost diving into the stands and things of that nature. You know that George gets like that. So you have an eye out on him. Then he punts the ball into the stands after the touchdown. It's like, okay, hey, 14. He's starting to heat up a little bit. Then he has the unsportsmanlike conduct where he throws the ball or tosses the ball to the player underneath him. All right, now we're going to start throwing flags. So now, like, everybody's on high notice.
Yes.
Anything that he does, if he even looks if he looks down or looks a certain way, we're throwing the flag. And that's where I think that Mike Tomlin did step in. Remember, he kind of hugged George on the sidelines, and also Broderick Jones and some of his teammates were like, you got to keep your head, you got to keep your head. But George has to understand that the eye and the target is going to be on him even this coming week, but even in that game after the first unsportsmanlike conduct and punting the ball in the stands, he has to know that he can't do anything. He can't do anything.
You got to walk that line.
Yes.
And I do think it is a fine line because you want Pickens to play with emotion. I think that's what makes him, when he is great. You don't want to neuter the guy.
Right.
So you got to be careful. And someone texts this in too, and I think this is a good jumping off point at 412-928-9370, and you can text us on that text line, brought to you by Edgar Snyder and Associates, a personal injury law firm where they always say there's never a fee unless we get money for you. How can anyone expect Tomlin to straighten out Pickens or Porter when video in the locker room showed him celebrating with Pickens in particular right after the game? That's another fine line thing. Because Najee Harris was on Football Night in America later in the day. Right? They do the little FaceTime thing in the locker room. So I guess it was right after the game, but then they played it later in the day. And he talked about celebrating with Tomlin. And he said he's kind of like our dad, but kind of like our best friend, too. These guys love playing for the dude. And believe it or not, that matters. It does. It matters. They play for their coach. They play hard for their coach. The coach has never lost the team. That's one of the things that makes Tomlin Tomlin. We can question game management. We can question losing to some lesser teams, which they've done 3 times this year. They beat all the winning teams they've played, by the way. That's what makes Tomlin great. It's what gets guys like Patrick Queen to walk into the building, I think, too, is Tomlin being part of it with the guys. You got to find a way, though, to get Pickens to stop this. And Tomlin's not going to stop being Tomlin. I would find him. I don't know if it works. I don't know if it puts his head between his legs. But I think the league finding him and the team finding him are different things. I think if the team finds him and says, hey, this is unacceptable, then maybe it changes something. Probably not, but you can't just let it keep happening. You're right. If it happens in a playoff game, 15 yards in a playoff game, Dorin, turning potentially 7 points into 0 points, that is golden in a playoff game. And I'm sensing no signs of the guy slowing down with this.
Yeah, I don't know if the fine would work, but in situations like this, I think about, my previous days and say I was on the Patriots and, I was doing what George was doing. Like, yeah, I'd be nervous if Bill Belichick called me to the office and it's like a slap on the wrist because I knew I'd be around. I'm one of the playmakers. It's like, okay, like Bill Belichick's mad. Like maybe I'll do it again, maybe not. But if Robert Kraft called me, I'd be like, oh, shoot. So maybe Art II might have to have a sit down with George.
You're saying go owner.
Oh yeah.
If you want it to stop, come down.
If you want it to stop, you get the head guy to say, "Listen, George, we love you. Clearly, you're doing a great job, but we cannot have this." And maybe that's where you kind of hand them the slip of paper and saying, "We're going to have to fine you, and we don't want this to happen again." And whenever the owner says that, they mean business.
Yeah,
because George, you're not just playing for right now; you're playing for your future.
That's a great point, and
I would be nervous if it was the owner that came and called me up to the office.
Yes.
Over the head coach.
Yes.
If I was acting this way.
God bless Craig Riley. I have a ton of respect for him. If he texts me and says, hey, Crowley, there's something I need to talk to you about, I don't get nervous. I just assume, hey, I'm going to walk down the hall and good or bad, we're just going to have a conversation. Big dude sends you a text. Yo, come see me in the office. It's like the principal.
Yep.
Like, teacher can sit you out in the hallway.
Right.
Teacher can separate you from your friends in class. But when the principal says, comes up over the PA system, Adam Crowley, could you please report to Principal Buttface's office? Uh-oh.
Yep.
Now it's trouble. I like that. I
would change.
Well, because Russell Wilson can put his arm around him, and what's it going to do? Like, he should. I'm sure he has. Tomlin, you already referenced it, did it? How do you send a real message? That sends a message because you can't bench him.
No,
you absolutely.
We need you.
Right.
We need you. But you know what? Hey, listen. This is not how we operate around here.
He could have got tossed from the game. And if he does, do they win? I don't know. They threw the ball to 10 guys. They didn't throw it to Mike Williams. Like, if Mike Williams was playing great football for you right now, I still don't think that I would bench George Pickens for a game or a half or a series or anything like that to send a message. I'll tell you what was different, though. I mean, Tomlin called him out.
He did. He said he needs to grow up.
Yeah.
He does.
That we don't get a lot of that from Tomlin publicly. And if I were Tomlin, I would double down tomorrow in the press conference, too. I would address it between now and then. I would probably double down publicly because you got to find a way to get through to this guy. Because if you're going to win playoff games, if you're going to get where you want to go, if you're going to try to get the 2 seed, if you're going to win the division, he's got to be great. And he can't be a jerk-off. Jim in Greensburg first up on George Pickens. Hi, Jim.
Hey, guys. Good morning. What if he doesn't change? I mean, I can see this guy self-imploding. I mean, he's not to the extent of AB, but he's getting there. And
he's not as good as that guy either, Jim.
Right. So what do you do? I mean, if he implodes, and would he trade him? I don't know.
Thank you for the call, Jim. And we talked about it last week. I mean, you, me, Bostic, Whaley. I don't think any of us said we'd give him a long-term contract. I think the consensus when we had sussed it all out was, all right, he's got 1 year left after this year. You kind of see how that goes before you pay him.
Right.
Because this was an issue last year. It was an issue coming out of Georgia. And it's a problem last year, and it's been a problem this year. And the first one pissed me off, Thorin. The second one, I was apoplectic.
Yeah. Like, you got to know that they're looking for you.
Can't do finger guns, man.
No.
Can't do. And that is in the rule book.
Yeah, all of it.
It's right. You can't He's always funny.
Yeah.
Like someone posted a cut up today on Twitter of all the weird stuff Pickens has done. I mean, there's him not getting he gets the same foot down twice. There's his fumble against the Colts where he's holding the ball like LaShawn McCoy used to hold the ball, except he ain't LaShawn friggin' McCoy. There's one where he tries to throw a reverse block and just totally whips. There's the one that you were crying about where he basically comes off the top rope with the elbow. He is the most unconventional wide receiver I've ever seen in my entire life.
But my problem with Tomlin saying that he needs to grow up, we ain't talking about a rookie.
It's the other thing.
He's not a rookie. Like, the growing up has to have been grown up already. Like, enough is enough. Like, what is he in his fourth year?
This would be year 3.
3. That's way too long to say that the guy's immature. Way too long.
He's 23.
I don't care. He's been in the league for 3 years. And these are but I'll say this. I'll take this and thinking that this will get fixed over the whole quarterback situation thing where he was upset. Because you know that's fixed.
Well, this is more crime of passion.
Yes.
Which
it's like
we're moving in the right direction. They're not
right.
they're not violent offenses to the I don't know. But in the same token though, like this hurts you on the field.
But he's passionate. It's bizarre, but you have to understand that what the rules are the rules and you just got to play.
We giggle and there's a lot of funny in there. And we always want to see the funny here on the Fan Morning Show. But if they lost this game, segment 1, we're starting probably with George Pickens.
Yes.
So figure it out, man. Because you got the Browns coming back next week. You think he's going to forget about Newsome?
You think that the officials are not going to be paying attention to that?
There might be a fight at midfield before this game. There might be. If the Browns planted a flag at midfield like all these rivalry games, do you think it's just a plain orange flag? Do you think it's an orange helmet, or do you think it's the Keebler elf?
Keebler elf.
I'm not fixing to find out, but they got a lot going on there with their logos.